Yo, what is going on, y'all? Welcome into Cardinalytics and Arizona Cardinals podcast. Cardinals podcast here for the fans, by fans. Here with your host Corey, Shad, Jake. How you guys doing today? I know missed y'all last week. A couple of busy things going on, but glad to have everybody tapped in today.
Yeah, doing
Yeah,
good. Doing
yeah,
real
me
good.
too.
So you got a busy office man down there. What's up with you?
Yeah, just late night at the office. Just heading home, just on my walk, and ready to chop it up with the fellas.
Yes, sir. All right, man. So obviously, man, we got to catch up on 2 long weeks of Arizona Cardinals. I mean, flashback back to I want to say maybe a week and a half, no, two and a half, 2 weeks ago, maybe 10, no, maybe about 17 days ago. Right, we were dealing with going into the game versus Baltimore, and we were dealing with social media team teasing that Kyler could possibly play. Jonathan Gannon not giving out all that Kyler could play. Here, so maybe just going into it. Then we get Dobbs finally gets is the starter for that game, and the Ravens game goes exactly the way that a lot of people would have thought it would. The Cardinals were competitive in one half, and the second half they crumbled a little bit. Obviously, Josh Dobbs didn't perform well in the last couple of weeks. What we've been saying. I mean, what was y'all take away from that game? I don't know if we still remember that one, but to me, I just thought the Cardinals had a chance. I thought they put themselves in good spots until they turned the ball over. And the last couple of weeks, when they turned the ball over, they've hurt themselves. And this team is already insufficient to not turn the ball over and win. So when you do turn the ball over, it's going to be impossible damn near to win. So what y'all think about that Ravens game? I thought the defense stepped up well. That's another thing I thought about that game. I thought we slowed down Lamar a lot. I feel like the Ravens only scored when they had short fields most of the time, and they took advantage of that. That's what good teams do. But I think the defense kind of laid its first ground marking and what it could be when we got Buda Baker back and Jalen Thompson was back there. So what do you guys think about that Ravens game?
Yeah, I remember. All I remember from that Ravens game was we scored on our first possession, and then after that, like we couldn't do nothing for the rest of the game. Um, yeah, that's pretty much what I remember from that.
Basically. How about you, Jake? What do you remember for that game?
Yeah, no, it's definitely. I feel like we really were in the game. Definitely had the chance to pull off the upset. Defense played well, stood on its head per se, shut down Lamar for the most part, and the offense once again just couldn't do anything to. And obviously Dobbs looked good-ish in the win that the Vikings just got, but he was god awful in that game. The same old turnover issues, missing wide open receivers. That's why it's so funny to me to read up on all this Minnesota fanfare and the NFL and ESPN accounts glorifying Dobbs as the pastronaut and all this stuff because, and like I said, I mean, good for him. He went in there, was with the team for a few days and got the win, but his true colors will show. He was doing things that the Cardinals had no influence on, missing a wide open receiver a numerous amount of times and fumbling the ball and just being careless with the ball is not on the Cardinals, and that will show in Minnesota. So
I want you to table that Dobbs talk because we definitely about to get into Dobbs, obviously because he got traded. As real quick, I see Mikey in the chat. Appreciate you coming through. K1 is back, so happy. Time for us to ball out and finish the season on a great note. Let's go Cardinals. Let's go, man. I mean, I appreciate you coming through, and we will definitely talk about this Kyler news. Just wanted to get us back on track from last week. And that was basically, I agree with you, Jake. At the same time, Josh Dobbs was putting the team in bad spots, in that Ravens game, and you could see it, and it happened. And so that week went by. Obviously, that week was the trade deadline week. A lot of us thought that the Cardinals wouldn't be getting involved in the trade deadline, especially with the news that Hollywood Brown was going to be staying, and that no other really pieces that they wanted to move so much that they wanted to move past that deadline. But shocker to us, deadline day. Well, not really shocker to us. I don't know. We kind of called it after. I want to say after we heard something about him not being committed to at least starting the game. We kind of thought that idea that he could possibly get traded, and lo and behold, it did happen to kind of the team that we almost called to at the same time, which was the Minnesota Vikings. And so, do any of you guys have any words for Josh Dobbs? I know me personally, I appreciate you. You Cowboys, I guess, kind of lifted this team, gave this team a shot in the arm when they needed it. But this last month and a week has been a journey with you. Obviously, you're getting praise right now. I appreciate. I mean, congratulations. It kind of goes into what Jake's point was just made. I mean, to me, he kind of ran around the field against Atlanta, and he wasn't really the pass astronaut. He was more so the run astronaut. And he did his thing, but last month or so with Dobbs has been a roller coaster. But like I said, I appreciate him for what he did for the Cardinals uniform. I mean, he was a character, one of the characters that we'll always remember. Obviously, if this regime starts anew and becomes kind of one of the strong regimes that we've had here in Arizona for a long time, obviously this chapter will be remembered when it comes to this season and Josh Dobbs. But anything y'all fellas had to say for Josh Dobbs on his way out, and now in Minnesota, but former Arizona Cardinal?
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate him for the couple of games that he came and played for us. It was always interesting going into the season, when we had Colt and we had Clayton Tune, like what I'm saying, how we were gonna go into the season, like what the plan was gonna be. And when Dobbs ended up, they traded for Dobbs and he came in. I thought he did really well for the first couple of weeks, first 3-4 weeks. And it didn't seem like after that Niners game, everything just kind of went downhill from there. But I'm glad that he ended up with another opportunity. And we kind of talked about this like when we got him, like, could we turn this franchise into a franchise where it's like people come here, they can put something on tape, and then they might be able to get another opportunity elsewhere. And I just want to say too, like, because I know I seen a couple of people saying, like, well, if Dobbs was, our best chance of winning, why get rid of him? You know what I'm saying? And I fully believe that Dobbs was going to start the Cleveland game. But Monty, he had an opportunity to trade him before the trade deadline. The trade deadline was that week. So there was if you're going to get rid of him, you had to get rid of him that week. So I fully believe that he was going to start going into the Cleveland game, and that would have been the last time that we seen him. But props to Monty for being able to kind of recoup that draft pick. I mean, we gave up a fifth, but we get back a sixth. But I mean, in essence, like you look at like the value of those draft picks, they're basically the same. So props to Monty for being able to get that back, and thanks to Dobbs for being here for the couple games that he was here, and now we on to better things.
I agree. Jake, I know you kind of on your spiel with Josh Dobbs and kind of how he was a garbage can for the last monthish. So how are you feeling on his way out, and anything he had to say for him and his tenure with the Cardinals?
Yeah, I just want to say too, it's very windy out here. If you couldn't tell,
You're good.
Is it making a lot of noise on the to you guys, like sound wise?
Yeah, no. When you're talking, I can
Yeah, but
mute
you're
your mic.
good.
I'm saying when you're not talking, I can mute you, so it works out.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So as I was kind of getting into, and as you touched upon, Corey, with the Josh restaurant, which I do love that. No, it's definitely right on point. Like, he's not a good passer. He can definitely run the ball. Like, no one's denying that. He has some gritty runs, especially like in space. He can get going and hit somebody in the kind of scheme. But these guys in Minnesota are kidding themselves if they think that this guy is going to take them to the playoffs, even with like a loaded offense.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen. Great guy. Hopefully it works out for him, but I was not upset whatsoever to see him go. So.
Mm-hmm. And I mean to me I agree. Like you recoup your pick back, basically that what you gave up, man. But it's looking like you're even about to get the pick that you sent out back as well. So like if he starts all the games, which it looks like he might at this point now too. So it'll be interesting because obviously they believe they have a really good receiver core in comparison to ours. They believe they have a really good offensive line, which they do in comparison to ours. So it's like he may have those opportunities to succeed in that fashion. But if he overthrows Justin Jefferson for an interception, I would say, well, told you so. Like we'll look at him and say, literally, that's exactly what happened to us, that he would overthrow a slant and it would cost you in your own territory. So good luck to Josh Dobbs, but we're on to bigger and better things. So obviously, with Josh Dobbs traded, we were subdued to a Clayton Tune show on Sunday, and boy. I'll let you. I'll let y'all start before I start on the Clayton Tune stuff. Jake, we'll actually let you go first. Clayton Tune, I know you were calling him a shit bag the entire time. So was I. What did you completely get away from that game, if anything? If you took away a single thing from Clayton Tune in that game, what did you take away?
Yeah, so this, as we've said in times past, right? Like, this podcast is by the fans for the fans, and I'm gonna be honest. I gotta let you guys take this one because I care about the Cardinals to such an irrational extent, and this has happened in the past, right? Like the Steve Wilkes year, last year, when the Cardinals get to a point, like I've been supporting this team since I've had consciousness of myself. When it gets to a point where we are just so ass with no hope, and I know that I have to wait another full off season and just stretch out the current season because I know we're not going to do anything. I barely tuned into that game this weekend. I have Sunday Ticket, YouTube TV, so I was invested in some other things. I stopped in a couple times and just honestly saw a couple brutal plays on both sides of the ball, and I pretty much checked out from there. I saw a lot of people on Twitter calling for Clayton Tune for the last, honestly, since the offseason, and it was just kind of lame. The guy clearly wasn't I guess didn't show anything great in his first NFL game. But as far as specifics, like I said, I got to be honest, I can't really give you much. So I'll leave this one up to you, boys.
What about you, Shaw? What'd you get away from that thing, whatever happened?
I was about to say, Mikey put in the chat, Clayton's fiddle broke and he couldn't find or play his tune. I mean, yeah.
Literally.
I don't know if he had a tune. I don't know if he had a tune to begin with. But no, it was just bad. Yeah, it was just bad. Like, I think that was the first time we got shut out since the Rams in London or something like that.
Yep.
Like some years ago. And ironically, I remember watching that game in Phoenix at a Cleveland Browns bar randomly. So there's some parallels with that. But nah, like this game was just ass, man. Like it just was tough to watch. And like, I mean, I feel like our best plays came from like Greg Dortch in the return game. But I don't know, man. This game was just bad, bro. The defense played all right because at first, I mean, Deshaun was looking, he wasn't looking himself. And I know it was his first game back. But like the defense actually played pretty decent. But again, like, the offense, if they can't score points, then it's not gonna matter. And then the offensive line, like, we're gonna talk about this too when we start talking about Kyler, but like, the offensive line just has to be better. It just has to, because with Kyler coming back, especially off injury, we're not trying to get him banged up again or anything like that, like unnecessary hits and stuff like that. So they just have to be better. And I hope with Kyler coming back that they're gonna play with some extra juice. Like I just hope. But Clayton Tune, I mean, for all the people that was calling for Clayton Tune in the offseason, like saying that we should play Clayton Tune and there's no point in playing Colt McCoy, or even when we got Josh Dobbs, there's no point in playing Dobbs and this and that. Like, I mean, I guess those are the same people that wanted us to not win any games this year, which I was never on board with that. So, I mean, if that was your goal, then I guess it makes sense. If that's what you wanted the team to do, then I guess it makes sense. But Clayton Tune, he's not ready. And honestly, after this game, I know it's just his first game, but it's just like, okay, we might need to be looking at another backup again next year, because if that's the product on the field, you know what I'm saying, if that's what he's doing on the field, then we need a little bit better backup than that, for sure. So
yeah,
that was my takeaways.
No, I completely agree. I'm just like, to me, my anger goes towards the people that are sitting there after we trade Josh Dobbs away and are sitting there telling me Clayton Tune should have been the starter. He was the one we traded Josh Dobbs for nothing. Why did we trade for Josh Dobbs? We gave up a fifth rounder, a Josh Dobbs. This. Let me. We had 48 total plays on Sunday. 48 total offensive plays on Sunday. We had 58 yards of offense. Do you know how impossible that is to do? Do you know how mind-bendingly impossible it is to do that? Like and the Browns defensive line, shout out to them. They ball out every game. They are a great unit. You should get more than 58 yards on 48 total plays of offense. We had 7 first downs. 7. If we complain about Josh Dobbs throwing the ball 15 yards, Clayton Tune can't throw it 5. So like we have to sit here and stop trying to critique every move that Monty Ossenfort is making and or whatever they're like. No, trading for Josh Dobbs was definitely meaningful. Why? Because Colt McCoy couldn't play, and if we had Clayton Tune out there, we might have been the worst offense, even worse than what 2018 was. Like that was horrific, and it wouldn't have changed based on whatever it is. Because why? He can't pick up pressure. He can't trust. He does not trust his arm enough, and he has not worked with those receivers long enough. That's why he looked like that. And for again, Josh Dobbs came in here on 2 weeks and put a better performance against a solid D line as well than Clayton Tune had when he's been here for 6 months. He's been here since April. Like what are we talking about? Again, you had plenty of time to throw the ball, but you were inaccurate when you did throw the ball. And when you did get sacked, you cradled up like a pig. Like I can't a lot of people want to put on Drew Pesci saying play calling. Like he can't do anything. What can he do? What can he trust his quarterback to do? What can he trust his quarterback to possibly do? What can he call that lasts longer than 2.5 seconds before DJ Humphries lets Myles Garrett literally walk right past him? Like what can he do? Shelby Harris is a veteran. Shelby Harris is old as hell. Why is he blowing past everybody on the offensive line? Like what are we talking about? Like again, like the offensive line, that left side needs to play 10 times better. But at the same time, the quarterback play was terrible. It was terrible. That's why he didn't play. I trust Jonathan Gannon to realize that Clayton Tune isn't good enough, so that we do have to bring in a player like Josh Dobbs, where they can trade for a fifth rounder for him, and to give us watchable football for at least a couple of weeks. And his last 2 weeks weren't great. Don't get me wrong; they were not great at all. But at the same time, it was somewhat watchable. He can somewhat manufacture some type of drives. We could not manufacture a single drive with Clayton Tune. We got shut out. I mean, they just let Gardner Minshew score 30-something on them. Like what? Like come on, bro. Like come. I really like. He's not good enough, and it was worth every penny to trade a 5th rounder for him. And it doesn't matter what we gave up giving back to him because he gave us what we needed exactly. So let's start like him. Let's just think about a little bit of realism here. Like as much as people want to win, the team is not built to win. Not against the Cleveland Browns. They're not built to win that way. And when they go out there with a performance like that, because they have to put a player out there that they don't trust, because they want to go with their plan of giving that quarterback week 10, and that was the date that they planned. That was the date that they would sign, and that was the date that they were going with, and not changing. Okay, but at the same time, like that's why Kyler Murray is so important, because of whatever the fuck that was. That was horrific. That was horrific. He couldn't even complete less than 5-yard passes. We're not. I agree with you, Shaw. We definitely are looking for a backup next year because he's a practice squad candidate player. He's not a second string player if Kyler does go down. And obviously that's not we the hope for him to play all 17, 18. But if that were not the case, we need somebody back there that can actually manage themselves, because I don't trust in him. Who in that locker room would trust him to go out there and perform and do whatever they would? They can say they might, they can say they would, but not a single person would. And I don't know if the coaching staff would either. And I don't damn sure know us.
They
fans.
wouldn't.
So
they wouldn't.
It was. Go ahead.
I was about to say, and I want people to know, if Josh Dobbs, if there wasn't an opportunity to trade Josh Dobbs, he would have played that game. Yes. Like Jonathan Gannon said, with the quickness that Josh Dobbs was going to be the starter. You know what I'm saying? And then all of a sudden, okay, well, he was made available. Teams came calling, and it's like, all right, he can go. Exactly. But Clayton Tune was not going to see the field this year at all. He was not going to see the field this year at all. But that opportunity allowed him to see the field for one game, and now you see how he looked. Like, and it's not it. Like you said, it's borderline practice squad. Like, and I know he's a 5th-round rookie, but hell, even the 5th-round rookie in Minnesota for two drives or whatever a quarter looked better than Clayton
Exactly.
Tune before Josh Dobbs came in.
Exactly.
So
Like Aiden O'Connell is a okay quarterback for the Raiders. He looked somewhat okay. Like it's just like
yeah,
like the Cleveland Browns are really good. Do not get me wrong. That D line is the foundation of their football team. But let's not be like they just gave up 30 something points to Gardner Minshew's offense. Like I
and he
don't
was missing people
want
wide
to.
open.
I don't want to hear that. You feel me? Like he had struggles or whatever the case may be. He didn't look good. We couldn't put up a single field goal. We barely got past the 50. Like, what are we talking about? He doesn't need to play anymore.
I feel like coming into the season, the tentative plan was like, all right, obviously Kyler's going to be out the majority of the season. So let's go in with Colt as like the expected starter. And we'll draft this kid who had some pretty decent numbers in college right in the 5th round and send him through camp and everything and kind of see what we have there. Maybe at best, he turns out to be like a solid career backup option. And who knows if that's even the case at this point.
Like
I just remember in the off season, like people were throwing the Brock Purdy thing
that's what I
around
was
where
about
it's
to
like
say. I was about
like,
to say,
oh man, we could have found our Brock Purdy and this and that. Nah, the odds of that happening are like super
that's what I was
slim.
about to
Like,
say. What's the
no.
name? Chris Sims killed his chances of being decent by saying something like that because you put all the pressure on him by this fan base to expect that. And when he go out there like shit, nobody trusting him anymore to do anything. So like that's a lot of pressure to be considered a guy who was literally picked the last pick in a draft and to have somewhat of a successful that's already now panning out to be one of the most successful last pick ever in NFL history. Like it's too much pressure for that player because that player is in a situation that is not comparable to the one that the other player is in. And so you can't be the next Brock Purdy. There is no the next Brock Purdy until there's a team that needs a quarterback and that is literally a okay quarterback away from doing something. Like that's what San Fran was when he added Brock Purdy. There's no comparable player towards that. Doesn't matter what pick they were drafted in. There's no comparable player towards that. So fans got really excited based off of that, and they saw the reality of what it really is. That's what we deal with. That's what you deal with when a 5th-round rookie player goes out to play. You see Tommy DeVito performances. You see, whoever else, whatever backup is out here playing. Like at the end of the day, like they're not good enough to play. That's why they're on the fucking sideline. And that's why he needs a earpiece in his ear, his helmet off, his helmet hung on the thing, and listening to the plays and watching them develop to see how to read a defense, how to judge pressure, and how to get his cadences off. Like that to me, I don't blame nobody else I don't really blame anybody for that loss. I just like nobody likes saying that. And because nobody cares about the Browns and nobody likes Deshaun Watson, nobody's praising that win for them. No, not a single person is claiming that win to be good. Nobody's giving the Cardinals shit for that win or for that loss because no one, like I said, nobody really likes the Browns, and then 2, nobody likes Deshaun Watson. So like at the end of the day, it's going under the radar for literally the worst performance on offense in NFL history, damn near. Like that's the level of off. That's how bad it was. And so at the end of the day, Clayton Tune, stay on the bench, stay there, just comfortable. Like I said, take your helmet off, put the earpiece in, and just listen and just watch a real quarterback go to work. And that's what we may be tuned into on next Sunday, I should say, with obviously today's news of the activation of Kyler Murray. Kyler is finally back after 300 and something days. Monday Night Football, a game that I was super excited for. Jake mentioned he was at that game, and just as when he went down, as dejected as it was on the first drive, in a game that we possibly thought, a chance to win and just kind of give a healer to the season at that point. And then he dropped. So like I said, now he's back. How do we think about the energy, obviously, for this team now and going into it, and just you're literal now with JJ Watt gone, with DeAndre Hopkins gone. That's your best football player on your roster now. So like, regardless of however anybody looks at it, maybe somebody might put Buddha there, or maybe somebody might put, even Kyler haters might put Kazir White or even Hollywood Brown or whatever the case may be. Your best player, in my opinion, and a lot of people's opinion, is now back on your roster. How do we look at this now? How do we look into this week? How do we get ready to prepare for this week? How do we game plan ourselves, our mental selves? Because we've been a team for the last 13, 14 games that has been preparing for teams, and think about our team without Kyler. Now we got to think about him with Kyler again. So how are we feeling about K1 activated?
Yeah,
Jay, you can go ahead.
Let's say start with the guy. Yeah,
cool. Yeah, I mean, I'm hyped, man. Like, obviously, I was kind of calling for Kyle to sit a little longer and keep losing games just for like the draft pick. But my two co-hosts over here definitely convinced me that was not the way. No, I feel like just watching a lot of mediocre to bad football. I was really drawn to the idea of getting a Marvin Harrison type. But at this point, with Kyler gearing up to play, you want him to come out and just light it up, look like his, first, second, third-year self, and kind of just put the league back on notice and kind of stick it to the haters.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of where I'm at on that.
Yeah.
I'm obviously so excited for it, and whatever pick we end up getting, it is what it is. Like you guys have said, like we have 2 first rounders, so kind of just make the most of what we've got at that point. But the most important thing for the team is Kyler to come in, start winning games, elevate the culture and the energy. And you never know, you could run the table and maybe squeak in. So that's all I'll say, man. Anything's possible.
Talk about that feeling a little bit, just about, obviously a couple of days ago you were like, let's just lose just to get a player like Marvin Harrison and stuff like that. But obviously, like, that mentality kind of changes when you hear a player like Kyler is like ready to play, and obviously he's going to show up. But still, that feeling of like, are you feeling like, okay, you would like Kyler to ball out a lot? And I mean, if we lose, we lose. If we lose, we lose. Or is it like you still on that train of like, let's just, he can even ball out, but let's just lose the game and get in a certain position?
Yeah, no, good question. I would say at this point, I'm rooting for Kyler to come in, ball out, and the Cardinals to go and start winning games, right? Like, I guess at this point in a perfect world, he would come in and we do the unlikely and somehow we're to run the table and make the playoffs, and all of a sudden this guy is regarded as one of the top quarterbacks in not only the NFC but the entire NFL. Obviously, that's not realistic, but I guess I would say that's kind of what I'm rooting for at this point. Is it was really up until the Ravens game, and then just seeing how we had a chance to win that game and lost another one in just brutal fashion and just like self-inflicted wounds. It got to that point. I was like, all right, here we go. Like, Dobbs is gone. Tune's playing. Tune's going to suck. So at this point, they keep dicking around with Kyler's return. Maybe they're just going to keep sitting him, right? And he'll play like the last 2 games. So, yeah, I'll be honest. I definitely got on the train of let's just lose at this point and go get one of those guys and really restart this thing. But with Kyler coming back, like, he's your franchise player. We're committed to him, financially speaking, like, for a while. And yeah, I mean, he's my favorite player. It's not even close. And to root for anything but success, I feel like would just be kind of a fraudulent diehard fan. So yeah, I'm rooting for wins again, right? Like, I just keep going back and forth. It's been a trying season. Nothing new, right? But yeah, no, I'm rooting for wins, and if we go out, compete, and we're losing close games and we keep stacking up losses, like, I guess there could be worse things, but I'm definitely rooting for wins at this point.
Real quick, Mikey in the chat throughout. Obviously, Brendan Rice, 6'3", 210-pound wide receiver, USC, 32 catches, 633 yards, 10 touchdowns. Third round pick will be a steal. I do think that we kind of had this
Isn't that
conversation.
Jerry Rice's son?
Might be. Shit. Look at that.
I think that is his son.
That's his son. That's crazy. But obviously, like we kind of talked about in the chat or in our personal chat, that kind of like Marvin Harrison would be the star pick, obviously, and it gives you a talented, a generated talent name, and just off the name alone, obviously gets seats into the building and bring some hype around. But obviously, like this team is just it's more than a wide receiver like him away from being successful. Like they need foundational pieces a lot, and as great at the talent that he'll be, I think this receiver class, especially in your second pick, your second first round pick, um, in that area, you should be some guys that you can still grab. Like um, maybe your boy Neighbors might still drop. This is supposed
Neighbors,
to see where
Coleman,
Keon may go.
yeah,
Rome, what's the name from Washington? So
from Washington,
there's
yeah.
multiple guys to be gotten in at least that middle pack, and usually that middle pack kind of strings out pretty decent wide receivers based off of NFL history outside of the obvious mistakes here and there from certain teams. But I do think like that that'll be a good solid spot if you do go receiver. But it's just so many more
Hmm.
foundational pieces than as we're talking quarterback here, even with some of the top ones. Like you're more than just adding one of those quarterbacks and getting off a contract away from being successful. Like you have a quarterback that can inch towards some type of success. And then if you add pieces around him properly and construct things around him properly, then he can become a
Hmm.
player that can elevate your team. Like I think Kyler Murray has already elevated this team to a point where they're competent, but if he is elevated to the point where he can help elevate the other guys that are elevating themselves, I know I'm just going on the elevating train, but like at the end of the day, if he's that player, that's when your team becomes
Yeah.
dangerous. That's when your team becomes a contender. Like that's what this team can do. And so I don't think his contract hinders you from building around this team because he's one of the only guys that'll be making money going forward next year outside of him and maybe Buddha and like James Conner. So like those are the only guys that's really getting, and then maybe Hollywood Brown once they decide to pay him. Those are the only guys
Yeah.
making real like solid money because DJ Humphries is gone. I think Sunday showed that in full that he's not worth the price tag that he's being paid. That's why they moved his money up, as we mentioned, and that's why he's on the train to be out of here.
And
So
that's another need. That's another need that you could address in the draft too. There's so many
mhm.
needs that this team has. Like you
So
said,
many
like
more
they could
needs than
use.
just those options.
Yeah, yeah,
So
for
so over,
sure.
I mean, so overall, I'm just like, uh, I'm thinking. Obviously, I want to get to you and your K1 thoughts, but like, just our conversation of losing out, like, because we kind of had that conversation is just like want to lose the games. It's like if they lose, they lose. But I want to go out there I want to go out swinging if we lose. Like I want to be that team that's in the back half of the season. Like, oh dang, this team just
They don't
gave
want
this
to
team a
play
loss,
us.
and
Yeah,
then maybe
yeah.
this team can't get in a certain position, and that falters their playoff dreams or whatever the case may be. I want Jonathan Gannon to go into Philly with the best chance possible to stick it to everyone that was in there that was talking shit about him. So like, and Kyler Murray does that. Playing anybody else but him does that for you in that game. And God forbid, God good pray for Kyler Murray that day. But I do think he'll have some success in that game as well. So just excited to put the pieces together. But Shaw, how are you feeling? Kyler's back, activated. What are you thinking for this team now? Like obviously a lot of people will put different expectations on him. I'll get to mine, but just how are you feeling?
Hmm.
Obviously that guy is back and activated.
Yeah, I don't know where to start. Man, yeah, I'm stoked. Like, I'm excited. Like, I don't know about y'all, but like, I love watching Cardinal football, but like, I love it even more when my franchise quarterback is on the field. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's cool. Obviously, I'm a root for him all the time, but like, I'm a root 10 times harder for him when Kyler's back there.
Mhm.
Because as we've seen over the years, like, I mean, I feel like y'all kind of share the same sentiment. Like, I don't really think there's a game that we're out of when Kyler's like playing, when he's on the field. You know what I'm saying? Like I have the utmost confidence in the team to if we're down to turn it around or whatever the case may be when Kyler's out there on the field. And I know
Mhm.
he hasn't played football in a minute, you know what I'm saying? So like I know that there's probably gonna be a ramp up period
They're gonna be
just for
trippy.
him.
That shit gonna be trippy
Yeah.
seeing his little ass out there and that quarterback taking a snap. That shit gonna be so trippy. It's been so
I
long.
don't know, Matt. I don't know. I think I'm used to it now because like I even watched like Bryce Young play, and I'm
Mhm.
like to me like he looks normal to me, but it's just because I look at Kyler all the time. Um, but I feel like I I feel like if I'm Drew Petzing, like I'm not holding back. I'm throwing everything at him. If he's been taking the mental reps. He's been on the sideline with the earpiece. He's had the iPad, all that stuff. Like I'm just throwing everything at him. Like I'm not tweaking the game. I mean, I'm tweaking the game plan for him. Obviously, like whatever it is, like how you want to come out there for him. But like play calling, all that stuff. Like I'm giving him everything and seeing how he responds to that. And I know this first game against the Falcons, it's gonna be tough. Like I feel like some Cardinals fans might think like, oh, it's the Falcons and like they haven't looked too good the past couple of weeks. But me being in Atlanta, I see a lot of stuff that goes on with that team and like a lot of people on Arthur Smith's ass. They just lost to Josh Dobbs at home. Like they got something that they trying to prove too, and they still trying to make the playoffs too. So that game's gonna be really tough. And their defense has been, for the better half of the season, their defense has been really, really good. So that game's gonna be tough. But we got what? We got 8 games left. If you ask me, I feel like best case scenario is, a winning record. And I think with Kyler, like that's feasible. Like if we can go 5-3 over the last 8, I'd be ecstatic with that. Like now what we're sitting at 1 win. So I mean, if we finish the season with like 4 wins, like that's fine with me too. But I think Kyler's good enough to have a winning record over the last 8 games. So I'm looking forward to it, man. Like I'm excited. Like man, this Sunday's about to be crazy. Like we haven't had a Sunday like this in a long time where we feel like how we feel. You know what I'm saying, with Kyler back at the helm. So
I can't wait to see his emotions and however that looks like. Him getting a chance to run on the field. I hope they announce offense. That's what they should easily do. If they don't,
I hope we wear all black too. If
they don't announce offense for the starting lineups, Mark Dalton, you need some work to do. Because I don't know what the hell y'all doing over there. But overall, like, to your point about throwing everything at him, I believe in JG to be a master preparer in terms of just the preparation and the study of the game, whatever you want to make that look like. And he's telling us, every time he talks, Kyler, is that he's putting everything to the test. He's not so much so acing them, but having the answers to the questions all the time. And when he's called out in the film room, he's answering to whatever that call out may be, and just showing his side of the game. That's the mental side. And I think we talked about this on one podcast. Like, this guy's a chess player. This guy's a mental, he plays the game. The game, it looks dumb, but at the same time, there is a mental capacity needed to play at the game at whichever game he ends up playing, or at some levels that he used to play at. So like I said, this guy's a chess player. This guy's a strategist. He lives to learn. He lives to consume, the base of knowledge. Like, I'm pretty sure he was a sponge with Larry Fitzgerald in the locker room in terms of however that may look like in terms of just learning and being intelligent. And Colt McCoy shares this same acumen. And we know Colt McCoy to be, study guy, big heart, nerd, white, whatever, however that looks like. Colt McCoy is definitely the guy to bring in the masses when it comes to teaching football, and a coach. Larry, that's what I'm looking at. He's one of those coach type of guys. And he says Kyler works hard towards doing whatever that looks like. So I believe in him to easily take on whatever role they give him. And I believe in him to easily go out there and have whatever goals that they want him to accomplish, and him to want to master them. And just mastering this playbook is obviously one of them. And I do think that however that looks like, whatever the route concepts are, the checks, the play calls, I do think he's taken all this time since April, because he's known he's been on the roster since April. So as soon as Drew Betting landed down and he gave him a playbook, I'm pretty sure he was locked in on it. So, and he's sitting there, yes, you need reps to do it, but I do think he's gotten these reps to do it, run these plays in the last 3 weeks, more time than Josh Dobbs had, and Josh Dobbs looked decent in that same time span. So I do think, obviously, just the idea of him being able to come in and master a playbook, master the whatever he's being asked to do, and I agree with you. Like, I don't think his expectation may come out, as Mikey said, a little rusty, because I just think like it does take time to master the drop throw. It does take time to master however that may look like, but I do think that he will have the ability to do so by the second quarter, by maybe the third quarter. And I think the way this defense has been playing, they'll be in the game, just like they were in the game versus Cleveland. By the second and third quarter, their offense just continued to let them down over and over again. So like, overall, yeah. I'm really I'm excited to see what that may look like. Like I said, I'm really more excited for the off the field stuff. Hope all the cameras on him. I want him mic'd up. Inside the NFL, you better be on him. If you're not, you're a terrible corporation. Like I said, offense needs to be offense needs to be introduced. It needs to be the loudest roar when Kyler Murray comes out and is introduced. And back for these fans that some may hate him, some may love him, but at the end of the day, you want stability. I don't understand these people that are talking quarterbacks. You want stability, and like Kyler, he hasn't been the greatest when it comes to his approach to the game. But we know this guy to be a very good player, and when that maturity comes with a very good player, you see the growth when it comes to that. Not everybody's going to be Mr. I don't smile, I don't laugh at anything Jalen Hurts versus like some guys are quirky and fun and still have success. So like it's let's just put all the noise to bed, all the drama about the guy, about him not studying. Let's evaluate the football player. I think that's the biggest thing that I'm excited for these next 8 weeks is just evaluating the football player, because there is no longer a contract clause about him. There is no more hanging the head about Steve Keim and his quote unquote preparation questions that he had about Kyler, even though you gave him a multi-million-dollar contract. So like, no more of that. There's a unison step when it comes to head coach and quarterback, at least at this point of their careers together. So I'm excited to see what that looks like. And Shaw, you mentioned about the Falcons. I do think they've been a tough defense, and I do think they will cause some type of havoc on us. It's about how we respond towards that. This team has been in the games every first half, as Jake mentioned. They need to continue that in the second half with Kyler, which is what we live for, which is what we know the guy to be as a gamer. So he keeps us in the game and makes it competitive and looks decent. I think that's a very good first step. And a lot of people may panic if he looks kind of bad in this first game, which I don't think anybody on this podcast will, but it'll be a shit ton of fans that'll panic and make it seem like he's supposed to look like a 350-yard, 3-touchdown passer in game one. But it can't look like that, because it's not built to look like that. It's built to make him throw the ball about 30 times, give to James Conner, hopefully, who may be back as well, 15 to 20 times, and let them manipulate the game in that fashion. So definitely, I don't really have new expectations. I do think this team will still find a way to lose games because of the talent, but I do think they'll find ways to be in the game when it's fourth quarter and 5 minutes left, and they may even have a lead, and it comes down to the other team making a play versus ours. So kind of like the games that we saw last year. I mean, to y'all point, or to y'all, I'll ask y'all this question. Like, if we see losses like we saw last year, where I feel like at least when the games that Kyler played, we were in most of those games until we just couldn't hang around enough. Like, so if we see losses like kind of like we saw last year versus the ones we've seen so far this year, where they've been mostly the quarterback is the one selling the team, and that's it. Like, how do y'all feel about that? How do y'all feel about possibly Kyler not playing well? Just all those things combined. How are y'all feeling about that, Jake? I haven't heard from you.
Yeah, I don't think there's really. I mean, obviously it's a possibility, but I just don't see a reality where Kyler like comes back and plays any worse than like a good step above what we've seen so far. I know that was a little bit of a weird explanation, but I mean, he likely will come back in and be head and shoulders above like Josh Dobbs, and obviously Tune is just not an NFL quarterback. But no, I don't see that happening. I mean, like as Mikey had said in the chat, like there's a chance that maybe he could appear to be a bit rusty, but I don't even see like a lot of that really being a thing. Maybe like early, as Mikey had said, but I think he like for what I've seen a lot of this year is Hollywood Brown just leaving cornerbacks in the dust and finding ways to like be open for a long touchdown in like consistent games, like back to back to back to back, and then Dobbs not seeing him, or like throwing a pass out of bounds or whatever it may be, or throwing an interception because he like underthrew him or whatever. Like I said, whatever it may be. But I mean, like I really do see Kyler coming in and honestly just lighting it up. Like Michael Wilson. Not sure if you guys have a timetable on when he'll be set to return. Obviously, he didn't go to IR. But even counting out Michael Wilson, like lean on Hollywood, Trey McBride, like Connor out of the backfield. So I'm like I said, I really don't anticipate Kyler not looking above average coming back. And as Shot had said before, like it'll be interesting to see a reality this season where we feel like, hey, like we're in the game, right? Like we could actually win the game. Like like watching in past weeks where like we've been very competitive and the defense has stood on its head against a team like the Ravens, and it's like, holy shit, like, or Seattle even, like, okay, if we can just like string some drives together here, like we could win. We could very well win this game. And then Dobbs is just, excuse me, personally, like throws the game away, like no pun intended, but it's like how many times did that guy get stripped? Like just standing in the pocket too long. Like I would hold my breath every time. Like it's like if there's one thing I remember from Josh Dobbs' time in Arizona, it's like game on the line, need a clutch drive, stands in the pocket just a second too late, strip sack, defense recovery, game over. It's like every time, like without fail.
Every time, yeah.
Funny too, because I wanted to, on Twitter, I'd seen someone say something about Dobbs like in Minnesota, and like I wanted to just like and like start a thread, and I was actually at the gym, and I started doing it, and I was like, this is gonna take me way too long, and like this is just too extra. But I was looking at deep, like go comment under comment every single game that he personally, like in my opinion, lost for the team. It'll just be nice to not have to do that anymore. And like obviously all of us in here love Kyler, so it's like, yeah, like he's gonna throw interceptions, like he's gonna get sacked, the ball might come loose at some point, like that's just the game of football. But it's that X factor, and like that's like the beauty of sports, and like specifically like pertaining to this, the beauty of football. Going back to what Shad said, it's like with a guy like that, a playmaker like that, a person like so special as an athlete with that X factor, where it's like we're never really out of the game. Like you saw week 2 last year against the Raiders. I mean, even the NFL account just tweeted out that 2-point conversion play. Having that ability, and like, you know, hopefully it's not any different after the surgery and everything, but like just having a guy that can do that, it's like it opens up like the possibilities are endless. Like the arm, speed, the finesse, like the swag, like I'm ready for it. So
well, it's good to see NFL account stop hating, you know, stop buying into all that bullshit. It's good to see that they actually post their players and, you know, support their NFLPA players. So good to them. I'm glad that you saw that. I'm glad I know I'll probably scroll the timeline and see it as well. Another thing I wanted to mention as well, like I kind of, and it's maybe a little bit barbaric a little bit, but like I need to see him get hit. I have to. Like he has to be whatever that looks like for him. He doesn't take big hits, but I need to see him get hit, and I need to see him cut up the field once. I just need to see it. I need to be able to see you plant on that, whatever, I think it was his right knee. I need to be able to see you plant on that knee and be okay. Like, and just get up and just go to the next play. I need to see you fall. I need to see you get sacked and get up and go to the next play. Like, because that's the only like security I'll have, and like, okay, this he's back. Like, because I'm so used to seeing him get sacked, that I'm so used to seeing him get hit, that I need to see him be able to get hit after his big injury as well. And I know, you know, I've been wondering, so if he's been doing like mock sim games or whatever that looks like, in practice simulation wise, and, you know, just like I said, just maybe faux tackles here or there, or like whatever that looks like. But got to see him get hit, because to me that's the only sense of security I think that we'll have in him being able to stay upright this season. It's just seeing him, you know, take just one hit, not a big lick, but just one hit, maybe Calais Campbell's sack, you know, swallow him up a little bit, see what that looks like. But I think, speak for myself, but I think I speak for all of us when I say, like we mentioned, it's just good to know that this guy who we paid a lot of money to last year, and we had a lot of expectations for, as well as his counterparts, his coaching staff, his GM, like we had expectations for all of them. But they were let go because of their failed expectations. And you weren't let go because, yes, the expectations around you were big, but at the same time, a lot of things around you faltered. And we had just given you the more money than both of them. So we decided to hold on to you, literally. So, like, you got to go out there. And I'm not saying be super, like Mikey says, he is Superman. Kyler Murray is Mighty Mouse and Superman all in one. When he plays, I expect to win. I agree with that. I mean, it definitely gives you that security, at least into the chance that you know you have a chance to win, and a no opportunity to win. So I'm just, you know, Sunday can't come soon enough. I just want to see him put on the uniform and go out there and warm ups. I'm excited to see if he talks tomorrow. Obviously, with him being activated and him, usually starting quarterbacks talk on Wednesday, but for this team. So I'm excited to see if he does go out there and talk. Just, you know, what type of questions they'll ask, because obviously they haven't been given any news if he will be available yet. But I'm sure he will be tomorrow, especially with him being activated today. So, man, we're here.
Yeah.
Got something to talk about finally,
Yeah.
right? We had those first 5 weeks, but those last couple ones have been dry. So, we finally here for this moment and getting a chance to talk about some good football again, hopefully. So,
I mean, we've all been waiting for this moment for since the off season started. You know what I'm saying? Like, so yeah, I'm excited. And I know we go. I want to say one other thing. I know we're gonna get into the Atlanta preview later on in the week, but this is gonna be one of the few games where I don't anticipate Atlanta having hardly any fans in
yes.
in Arizona.
Mm-hmm.
Just because I mean Falcons fans really don't travel like that unless they're going to like New Orleans or like Charlotte or something like that. But
Mm-hmm.
um, I mean I expect it to be a ton of Cardinals fans, and if we do get down or something like that, like I expect us to be able to rally behind the fans for once this season. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, real season starts this Sunday for sure.
That's
For sure.
that's a good point that you made because I was kind of thinking about that. So now that you mentioned that, obviously a guy from Atlanta, that stadium needs to be packed with Cardinals fans cheering on the team. It should easily be packed because
Yeah.
of the fact that you have a watchable player at that position now that you haven't seen in almost a year. It's deserved so to for y'all to show up and show out for this game. I mean, I was trying to go, but work obligations hold you back sometimes. So like obviously I can't, but um if you're able to go, if you lived out there, go, because like this is a chance for you to watch something that's special. And like I said, that this pregame show should be special. It should be all wrapped around K1. I want nothing but K1 content from the social media team all week. And if it's not, like I said, Quentin Miller, I needed to, or the real QM, whatever your name is. I know you. I saw you multiple times at the Washington game. You need to be fired because you're not doing your job right the way. So, like I said, all Kyler Murray content all week. Like I said, we're going to our Atlanta preview on Thursday. See what they have to offer for us. I'm excited to dig into them a little bit, watch their tape. Obviously, they have a player like Bijan Robinson, who I'm ready to talk about because he's killing me in fantasy. So I'm trying to figure out
I'm
what's
about to
really
say
going on over there.
he might touch the ball 10 times, maybe.
Okay. Whatever they said today about him being a better player off the ball, that sounds like the dumbest shit I've ever heard in my life. I don't know how you do something off the ball in football and be good at it. But neither here nor there. Arthur Smith is an NFL coach. I know nothing. But like I said, we'll dig into Atlanta Falcons on the end of by the end of this week, sometime maybe on Thursday or Friday. Jake, anything for the people before we head out today?
I don't think so. Good to be back though.
Yes, sir. All right, we will catch y'all on Thursday or Friday, man. Peace.
Sounds good.
All right, peace.